What's going on, everybody? This is Cody, the home theater hobbyist, and today I have my review of the Airmotiv SE12. This is a 12-inch downward firing subwoofer from Emotiva. Now, I've spent a few weeks with it, and Emotiva was nice enough to send me 2 of these, so I was able to try them in a dual configuration, and I'll talk about that along with the design, sound quality, give you a sound sample, and make my recommendations. So let's get to it. The SE12 features a 12-inch front-firing passive radiator and a 12-inch downward-firing active driver. It has a Class D amplifier that outputs 200 watts of power RMS and 400 watts of power peak. It has a frequency response from 28 Hz to 200 Hz. It is 17 inches tall, 15 3/4 of an inch wide, 15 3/4 of an inch deep. It weighs 38 pounds and costs $399. Before we get too far in this video, please hit that like button because it helps us get found in the YouTube search algorithm. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted anytime we upload new content. So here I am with the SE12, the Airmotiv SE12. And as I said in the intro, I have another one of these, but I'm only going to show you this one for right now because obviously the other one is identical. So just showing you all the features and controls and stuff like that. You don't really need 2 subwoofers sitting up here, but I do have it. Also, I should mention that Emotiva sells an 8-inch version of this known as the SE8, and it is very similar to this one, except it's just a little bit smaller, has all the same features and controls and things like that. But if you want that one, I'll also put a link to that one in the description below. But let's talk about this particular subwoofer, and we're going to start with the design. First and foremost, this is an Airmotiv subwoofer, so it actually looks like a lot of those Airmotiv speakers from Emotiva, including the T2 Plus that I reviewed maybe about a year and a half ago, something like that. Has the same black surface finish. It has the same sort of what I like to think of as angles from like the Dark Knight, that version of Batman, because it's got these angles right here on the front face and things like that. But the other thing this has, or I guess I should say doesn't have, is, as you can see on the front, there are no logos. There's nothing that says Emotiva or Airmotiv or anything like that. This is just a box, which is actually kind of cool and I think a little bit refreshing. But as you can see, I have the cloth grill on the front, and to pull it off, you give it a little tug and it does come off. It's actually held in with a pin and cup design, and you just give it a little tug, and there are 4 pins, 1 on each corner, and 4 cups, 1 on each corner that it sits in. But the pins themselves do have a little bit of a ball on the end, so it's held in there nice and snug. Now, the frame itself is nice and sturdy. I mean, it's really sturdy, it's firm. There's nothing to worry about there. So this is a nice overall cloth grill if you are looking for a nice cloth grill. But once you get it off, you can see that front firing passive radiator, and what that means is you've got the woofer cone here, but there's no magnet or electronics attached to it. So as the main woofer, which is down here on the bottom, moves in and out, this also moves in and out, and it gives you just a little bit more bass response because it is pushing some air. But as you can see here on the dust cap on the front, again, there's no logos. There's no logos anywhere, and that's just kind of cool. But otherwise, that's all that's going on with the front of the speaker. So now we're looking at the bottom of the speaker, and as you can see, there's that 12-inch downward firing driver. This is the active one, so it has the magnet, it has all the electronics connected to it. This is the one that is actually moving all that bass in your room. And again, as you can see, there's no logos or anything on the center dust cap or anything like that. And no, this doesn't come with a grill or anything like that. This is just kind of open out here, down here on the bottom, but I mean, it is facing the floor, so hopefully you don't have any issues with that. Right here on each one of the corners are the 4 feet, and these are permanently attached. They add about 1.5 inches or so to the height of the subwoofer. They do have these little rubber feet on them, and these are nice rubber feet in that you don't have to worry about these sliding or anything like that if you have hardwood floors or like even cement floors and carpet. It does pretty good, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about there. But I just wanted to show you this bottom, that the active driver is down here, and I guess you can probably hear that thump, thump, thump. Yeah, that's some nice rubber surround there. Okay, so now let's talk about the rear of this subwoofer, and there's a lot going on back here. Emotiva has pack this with features and controls, and I definitely want to talk about them. And the good news is the SE8 has the same controls on the back of it, so you're not losing any features by going smaller. But I'm actually going to start at the bottom because all the really cool stuff is at the top, and it's going to take a few minutes to kind of go through it. But we'll start down here at the bottom with the main power connection. Again, comes with power cable, plug it into the wall. Next to that is the main power switch, on, off, and then just above that is the other power switch, what I call the secondary power switch. You have auto and you have on. Now I leave all of my subwoofers in auto mode, and what that means is once they receive a signal, the subwoofer turns on. Once it stops receiving a signal, it's no longer receiving a signal after about 10 or 15 minutes, it automatically turns off. That way I don't have to fumble around in the dark and turn it on or turn it off. Now next to that is the phase adjustment, either 0 or 180. Now, just above that is the main volume knob. You can turn it up, you can turn it down according to your bass preferences, or basically your volume preferences. Next to that is the crossover adjustment. Now, for crossover adjustment, I typically set my crossover at 80 Hertz in my AV receiver. But if you have an AV receiver integrated amplifier that does not have bass management built in, you can set it here. And basically what crossover is this is the frequency at which you're sending the bass notes to your subwoofer. Now moving up, these are the high level in connections. These are all in connections. And what this means is if you have an AV receiver or integrated amplifier that doesn't have line level outputs, you can use these. And these are just speaker level, basically, inputs to the subwoofer. So again, you can get bass from that piece of equipment. But typically, most AV receivers actually have a subwoofer out connection. It looks like a little RCA connection, and you would use this little LFE in connection right there. And you just plug it in and plug it into the subwoofer out on your integrated amplifier receiver, or whatever you have that says subwoofer out, your soundbar. If it has a subwoofer out connection, again, you can use that here. Now, this is where the SE12 really gets interesting. Emotiva has built bass management into this subwoofer using these connections right here. And let me explain. Let's say you have a processor, DAC, or something like that that doesn't have any bass management built in, or even a subwoofer out or something like that. And I'm going to use this headphone DAC as an example. The back of this headphone DAC has left in, right out, and it has no real bass management. So we're just gonna pretend this is a DAC that you could use. What you would do is you would take your cables, right cable, left cable, plug it in there. You take the other end of the cable and plug it into the inputs on the subwoofer right there. And remember, white is left and red is right. And here's the crossover setting, because now you can set your crossover. And basically what you're saying is you're doing bass management inside your subwoofer. You have 60, 80, or 100 Hertz. Like I said, I typically set mine at 80. So I'd switch that to 80. Then you can take another set of RCA cables, like this one right here. And again, go into the out section of the subwoofer, and you plug the other in, left and right, into, let's say, your powered speakers or your power amplifier. And what that means is all of a sudden you've got bass going through your subwoofer, and your power amplifier is sending signals to your speakers that are basically everything above your crossover setting. So you're getting a nice 2.1 system with this subwoofer when you didn't have it before. And that is a really cool thing about this subwoofer. I like it. Now I'm going to play an audio sample so you can hear that this subwoofer and its brother actually make sound. Hopefully you enjoyed those audio samples. I tested the SE12s with both music and movies, and now I'm going to rank them in a few different categories from 1 to 5, 1 being the absolute worst and 5 being the absolute best. In the design category, I give the SE12 a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said earlier, it has the same all black design and surface finish as the other speakers in the Airmotiv line. It really reminds me of the T2 Plus. So if you have speakers in the Airmotiv line, this will match very, very well. I mean, basically it's a cube in all of its dimensions at 15 3/4 of an inch if you're not including the feet. And like I said, it's got the same angularness as the T2 Plus. It kind of reminds me of the Dark Knight, you know, Batman, that sort of thing. But it doesn't have any extra color or anything like that that kind of gives it a little bit of extra pop. So I kind of wish it had that, but otherwise I think it looks good. If you have an all black home theater, this will match perfectly. Now the next category I want to rank is features and controls, and I have to give the SE12 and the SE8 for that matter a 4.5 out of 5. Emotiva has packed all the basic features that we need in a subwoofer right here. I mean, you've got phase adjustment, crossover adjustment, LFE input, and obviously you have power settings, which is really cool. But they've gone a step ahead and included high-level speaker inputs and even a step above that and added bass management. So if you have a preprocessor DAC or something like that that doesn't have bass management, you can use this as bass management, and that is super, super cool. This is a great feature, especially at this price range. Now, the only thing I can think of that it doesn't have is Bluetooth or some way to basically make adjustments to the subwoofer from your couch. So for instance, if you need to make phase adjustments or something like that, you're going to need to get up off your couch and do it versus, you know, being able to do it right there from your smartphone. But otherwise, I think this is a great set of features, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Now let's talk sound quality, and I give the SE12 a 3.5 out of 5. This has a nice, smooth, detailed presentation. It doesn't have any ports, so you don't have to worry about port noise, and that means you're going to hear a bit more detailed. The active woofer down here is doing the bulk of the work, but the passive radiator is also doing a bit of work there, so that definitely helps with the sound presentation. When listening to music, again, I found that it was nice and smooth and detailed. It's not the clearest sound. I mean, this does start and stop really quickly, but it's not starting and stopping on a dime like other subwoofers, but it does a great job. When watching movies, I found, again, smooth and detailed. Now here, it doesn't play as deep as I would like. This isn't going to play a 20 hertz tone or a 16 hertz tone or anything like that. But as Emotiva says in the specs, it'll play down to, I found 31 hertz, and I think on the specs page is 28 hertz or so. So it'll play where Emotiva says it'll play. Now moving on from a single subwoofer to dual subwoofers, and honestly, you're getting more of the same and you're getting more balance, and I do recommend dual subwoofers if you can. The good news is these subwoofers are priced in such a way at $399 that they're not overly expensive. So that means you can probably pick 2 of them up, again, if you have the space for them, but you can probably pick 2 of them up. And what you can expect is you get nice balanced bass across your seating positions, and it's honestly a little bit more impactful. You're getting more of a movie theater quality sound, again, because you have better balance across your seating positions. Both of them play smooth and detailed, although again, not super deep, but they do a great job where they play, and I do like that. So overall, I think this is a good subwoofer from a sound quality standpoint in that it plays smooth and detailed, although not as deep as I would like. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because everybody's not looking for 20 hertz tones. So I give it a 3.5 out of 5. The final category I'm going to rank is value, and I give the SE12 a 4.5 out of 5. It's $399 for each one of the subwoofers. You get a 12-inch woofer and all of these features. So that is a great, great deal. I'm not really sure you're going to be able to find a deal that good out there for these features and that size of a woofer. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5. So let's wrap this up. If you own a pair of Airmotiv speakers and you're looking for a subwoofer to match your speakers, definitely look no further than the SE12s or even the SE8s. If you own a processor, DAC, integrated amp, AVR, or something like that that doesn't have bass management and you want a little bit more bass and bass management in your life, again, SE12s. This is a great value at $399 and it sounds good. It has a nice smooth detailed sound. It doesn't play as deep, and if you're looking for more depth, look at, let's say, the RS13 or something else. But otherwise, these do a good job, and I do recommend these, especially in a dual configuration, because you're going to get much better balance than you will out of a single subwoofer. And that's really true for any subwoofer. That's not necessarily true to just Emotiva. But if you want to purchase the SE12s, the SE8s, or something else from Emotiva, use those links in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, because that does help us. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment, and also happy holidays. We'll talk to you next time.